There we go.
Yeah. Wow.
Hi everybody, this is Elizabeth with Live Simple, Live Free. For today's video I came down to this river that I just love so dearly. The rain is coming down, I'm under a purple umbrella, trying to keep the camera nice and dry. Decided not to use the GoPro today, but anyway, to keep the camera nice and dry. And just a little thing I wanted to talk to you about, but I want to show you here what I see when I look out. And of course it's very quiet here today because it's raining, but I just think it's so beautiful. Nice big river. I drive over that big bridge over there to get here. It's high. So what I wanted to talk about today doesn't have anything to do with the river. I just thought I'd come down here to film this because it's peaceful and beautiful. But I want to talk today just for a few minutes about the power there is in a name, and about my own journey with that, and what that has done in my life. If you look in the Bible, there's lots of people that went through name changes. Sarai became Sarah. Abram became Abraham. Basically, Jacob became Israel. And so there's just lots of times. Saul became Paul. Lots of them where, there was a name change that was pretty significant for people. So my name is Elizabeth Ann, and I've always loved the meaning of the actual name Elizabeth. It's Hebrew, and it basically is God's oath, or consecrated to God by an oath. And Ann just means grace, and Ann has been a real common girl name in our family for a middle name. So that's pretty neat. But growing up, I was always called Beth, and I like Beth. Beth's a really nice name to have. It's the nickname that was chosen for me when I was really little from Elizabeth. And that's just what I was always called. Well, I'm 5'10", and I was 5'10" by the time I was 15. And I can remember that, but by the time I was like in 5th grade and I was 10 years old, my feet had already gotten to a size 10. Because they kind of had to get my foundation established first. And boy, was I glad when I got tall enough to sort of feel like I had grown into my feet. So, yeah, I was very tall, and never what you could really call a naturally graceful kid. I ran into the sides of things. I've since learned that I have a little bit of a perception problem. And probably a lot of times it was hard for me to exactly judge where something was. So I learned about that finally when I was in college, and it kind of helped me understand myself a little better. But I bumped into stuff all the time, and I was extremely polite. So every time I'd bump into something or hit a piece of furniture or whatever, I'd always apologize. I'd say, I'm sorry. And my dad used to tease me. He'd say, if I accidentally bumped into him and apologized, he'd say, don't apologize to me, I'm not a piece of furniture. But anyway, I get teased a lot, and my dad, his nickname for me was Grace, which didn't have anything to do with my middle name. So I just kind of bumped my way through life, and I can remember hearing so many times, Beth, and kids would tease my sisters, and I'm not upset with them about this at all, but they used to love to come running in and singing, "Who's afraid of the big bad breath, Beth, big bad breath, Beth," from "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf with the Three Little Pigs." And so it was just, it was a perfectly good name. That's all my family and friends called me, but it would just kind of fit Beth, pretty well. And I remember thinking as I was getting older, how much I just loved my actual first name, Elizabeth. But when I thought about people who were called Elizabeth, and not just the Queen of England even, but they were graceful, grown-up women that didn't trip and fall over things, and Elizabeth was just for someone who was, I don't know, lovely and gracious and not awkward, But I used to wish sometimes I could be called Elizabeth, because I just thought it was such a beautiful name. And like I said, didn't mind Beth, but I kind of missed the fact that my real name was not what I was called. So I met Bill. He was 19, I was 20. I'm about a year older. And we just got to be very good friends for like several years. And I remember just telling him one time that I love the name Elizabeth, but I would never be Elizabeth. I was too clumsy, and Elizabeths were graceful, grown-up women, And of course, everybody that I knew called me Beth. I've never been Liz, never been Lizzie or any of the other. There's many nicknames you can get from Elizabeth, but I was just always Beth. So we did get married, and of course, as you know, it'll be 43 years this summer. Man, goodness. And we got married, and then our daughter was born. And then Bill ended up being transferred in the Army, because he was in the Army for 24 years, and he was in the Army when I married him. So he ended up being transferred, and we got sent to Germany, which I loved. I absolutely loved it. It was such a good experience over there. And our son, Barry, was born over there. But anyway, we got to Germany, and we were meeting all sorts of new people, and people that we knew from the military, and we made some good German friends. And our church was actually like half Americans and half Germans, with lots of translation going on. But we got to know some wonderful German people and Swiss people. They were great. A little bit of time went by, and we were just starting to get to know people. And Bill walked up to me one day, and I'll never forget this. He just walked up to me, and where he got this wisdom when he was so young, I don't know, but he said, "You know what? We're in a completely new place, and we're meeting all new people, and nobody knows us. I think it's time that you started being Elizabeth." I cannot tell you what that said to me. That was, he knew how I felt about that, and that was him saying, "You know what? I see you as a lovely, graceful, grown woman." Oh my goodness, it meant so much to me. I remember when we were first together, and he said this very lovingly. He said, "I guess I always figured I'd marry a Siamese cat, and instead I got a Cocker Spaniel puppy." But anyway, no, when he said that about it was time for me to be called Elizabeth, it was so significant to me, I can't even tell you. And so that's how he introduced me. That's how we, all of our friends there, and from then on out, goodness, it's been 40 years ago that I basically have been called Elizabeth. Now, I have never insisted on that with family or really old friends. If they want to call me Elizabeth, great, but they're used to Beth, and that's okay. But I've been Elizabeth ever since. And every now and then people are like, "Well, that's 4 syllables, And Bill says, "Nope, just say Elizabeth, and it'll work." And that's 2. He likes to call me Whizzy Buff sometimes. But it was cute when we were living in Kentucky, because now Kentucky is the land of Billy Joe, Betty Bob, Freddie Ann. I mean, everybody's got like these really cute nicknames. So people would meet me with that wonderful thick accent, and they'd meet me and they'd be like, "Well, honey, I know your name's Elizabeth, but what do I call you?" And I say, well, actually, how about calling me Elizabeth? And they'd be like, well, but what do we call you, you know? And so the Elizabethtown in Kentucky is called E-Town. So sometimes they call me E-Beth. But at least that's still Elizabeth, a little bit shortened. It's not just setting Elizabeth aside for another one of the for a nickname from Elizabeth. But I used to get a big kick out of that. So, you know, like I said, most of my family has still been calling me Beth, but I do have some members of the family that have really started calling me Elizabeth, and they've been really glad to be able to do that. And it means a lot to me. I appreciate it. So we moved into the Northwest. Shout out to my cousins in the Northwest. Anyway, we moved to the Northeast, and I discovered that when you get up, you know, up into the Northeast, that Elizabeth is Liz, or Lizzie, but Liz. And oh my goodness, every time someone met me, it was like, you know, my name's Elizabeth, and they go, well, hi, Liz, and everyone started calling me Liz. And for a little while, it almost was like I could almost hear the enemy laughing at me, just saying, you know, you're not really Elizabeth. This hasn't really been real. And I discovered that if I didn't politely do something about that right away, then they would introduce me that way. And then once that starts spreading, you can't catch it back again. And you know, I understand, because I think a lot of times people feel like that to be a real friend, you should be one of the ones that can use a nickname. You know, that it's not formal, it's friendly, and I understand that. You know, I mean, my husband is William, but he's always been Bill. You know, so you know, that's just a friendly thing. But I can't become Liz, and so I've had to really carefully and politely let people know, please. My name's not Liz, actually never has been. But if you wouldn't mind, my name really is Elizabeth. And so, I don't know, I just was thinking about how that a name can mean a lot to a person. I pretty much since then have been very careful to always check with people and find out what they would like to be called, or if they had any preferences. Because, I don't know, a name wraps up a lot of how you feel about yourself. And I want to make sure I'm calling them what they want to be called. I remember one friend that we made, it was quite a while ago, but his name was Robert, and you know, usually that's Bob or Rob, you know, kind of thing, and he insisted on calling me Liz, and I just very politely, because if other people hear it, it starts creating confusion, so I very politely say, you know, can you call me Elizabeth? I've never been Liz. And he would forget and constantly call me Liz, and so I would just grin at him and call him Bert, and he goes, I'm not Bert. I said, well, isn't that your nickname from Robert? Bert? And he stopped and thinking, he goes, okay, I'm getting it now. And he was careful to try to call me Elizabeth. We laughed about it. So, yeah. So, like I said, I'm just enjoying this beautiful river today, and just thinking about how much meaning a name can really have for somebody. If you look all through the scriptures, names were very significant, and I think that respecting what people really want to be called is a really cool thing. It just is. So, well, I'll show you a little bit more of where I'm at, but love you guys, and I just wanted to talk about that today. So here I am under my purple umbrella in the rain, looking at this totally gorgeous river. So, alrighty. Listen, you guys, be blessed. Live simple, live free. All right, love you guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.